Hello! This Saturday, myself and the artist formerly known as Chris Bratt will be playing Dark Souls 3 in pants, not our pants, the character's pants, for charity. And this is the point where I usually put out a video pretending to be a wizard going, "Oh, welcome, traveller." But I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to talk a little bit about the charity that we are going to be trying to raise money for and why. And to begin with, yeah, so those of you, a lot of you probably do know, but some of you might not know that in late 2014, my other half, Emma, was diagnosed with a very nasty form of cancer. It was actually a cancer I haven't talked about in the past because it's just dark, dark, dark. But I'm going to now because then you can understand the charity and why this is important. But she was diagnosed with something called small cell carcinoma of the ovary with hypercalcemia, which is a bit of a mouthful. It's a very aggressive cancer which has basically a very poor prognosis. Most people get it and then they die very quickly. And in Emma's case, it was something which grew from being nothing to being a tumor the size of a rugby ball, basically, within just a few months. So it grows very, very, very quickly. And yeah. The thing is, though, in our case, it actually wasn't a terrible story. We were hugely lucky in the fact that it was caught at just about the right time, and through the NHS, we had some of the best treatment possible. The Royal Marsden, which was actually the hospital that we raised money for last year when doing the Pantsman stuff with Chris Bratt. And yeah, they caught it at a good time. Surgeons were fantastic, and as of yet, nothing has come back. It's one of those horrendous cancers where really nothing is the only good thing. If it comes back at all, as I say, it grows so quickly that you just get yourself in a very bad situation very quickly. So really at the moment, we're hugely lucky. We've been through it and we're getting back to some form of normal life now. And as long as it doesn't come back, which fingers crossed it won't, we're fine. However, a lot of people really haven't been as lucky. And the charity that we're raising money for this year is a charity which is part of the Eve Appeal, which is specifically looking at different forms of gynecological cancer, basically, and all the different types of cancer that can specifically affect women. And this Eve Appeal has agreed to take money for something called Angela's Fund. And Angela's Fund is specifically raising money to try and find, well, actually just have any form of research into small cell carcinoma of the ovary, because basically there hasn't really been any research until very, very recently. Angela was a woman who was sadly diagnosed with the same cancer as my other half in 2013, and it was a bit too late. And because it's such a fast thing, she sadly died, and her family ever since have continued the fundraising that she started to try and raise enough money just to get some research going for this cancer. That's my computer making noises. The thing is, it's a very, very, very rare cancer. There have only been hundreds of recorded cases across the world. And in 2013, when Angela was first diagnosed, she was shocked to discover there just wasn't any research at all. And we found ourselves in a similar position. The doctors didn't really know a lot about it. In fact, the treatment that my other half was given was based purely on a kind of like, well, this worked once on somebody about 15 years ago, so let's try it again, which is obviously not the most reassuring of medical kind of directions to have to go in. But it's just the nature of it. It's very rare. There's been no research. People die so quickly from it that they just don't really know what they're doing. And so obviously, it's a difficult kind of prognosis to be given. And I think really that's why myself and my partner decided that it might be great to try and raise some more money for Angela's fund, because what they're hoping to do is have 5 years worth of research, and they need in total for that, they need £120,000. But they're close now to the 50,000 mark, and I'm hoping to push them over that with your help, yeah, during this kind of charity stream stuff. But if they can get to £60,000, then they can actually, that's enough to secure the next 15 months of research. And the thing is, I get this sort of stuff. And as a kind of pragmatic man, I understand that really you look at this and you go, well, does it make sense to be investing so much money, investing money into trying to find information and research about very rare cancers like this when there's lots more, popular cancers, which is a weird phrase you start using when you actually have to deal with things like cancer. Things like breast cancer get a lot of funding, get a lot of research, whereas in this, cancer research is so rare, it's so niche in a way that there's no real interest in funding it. So it's one of these rare cases where actually by donating money to this, obviously it's not kind of a major cause. It's only going to affect a certain number of people. But by giving money to this, you actually are going to make a difference to people's lives. And I think the thing that I always bear in mind about this is the most difficult thing for us when we were given this prognosis um, was that there was no data, there was no statistics, we didn't have anything to lean on. And I think something that people don't really realize until you're actually dealing with something like cancer is one of the few reassurances you have in this situation is that you're being put on a roller coaster by experts. And really, you're surrounded by people who know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, and you're given advice and they lock you in and they say, and you just follow what they do. So it's kind of living on a day-to-day basis for a long time when you're in the thick of it. But knowing that there are people who know what they're on about, who are telling you what to do, is fantastic. And in our circumstances, we didn't really have that. We were given a suggested course of treatment, but there was no kind of universal agreement on what the best treatment was. People in America treat it very differently. People all over the world treat it differently because no one knows what they're doing. We didn't even have something as simple as a survival rate. All we knew is that most people who have this cancer die within 2 years. We've been a year and a half in the clear now, which is fantastic, but obviously we're still not out of the woods ourselves. And not having any information to rely on is psychologically very difficult. And you've also got the fact that really this is a cancer which the majority of the time affects women who when they're very young, women who are early 20s. And it's incredibly difficult to have something like that happen to your ovaries, of all things, to be in a situation where even if you do survive, you might not be able to have children again. And for lots of young women being told that they have this at a point in their life where they really haven't even had a chance to work out who they are or what they want out of life is an incredibly difficult thing to have to go through. To be facing the menopause at age 18, 19, 20 is horrendous, but unfortunately a reality of this cancer. So yeah, basically it's something which is very close to my heart. And although the research that is taking part now, it won't be able to help me, won't be able to help me and my partner. If it does come back, we're going to be in a not great place, to be honest. But it's more just knowing that in the future, we might be able to work towards a situation where when more people get diagnosed with this in the future, which will happen, unfortunately, scientists will know what they're doing. They'll be in a situation where it won't just be a case of going, well, we'll do this surgery. Well, maybe, do you want radiotherapy? I mean, you should never be in a situation where doctors are saying to you, do you want radiotherapy? Because we don't really know if it works or not. But that's unfortunately the situation we were in. And obviously with chemotherapy, it was basically a shotgun. Research into cancer and the way we treat cancer is very barbaric, and it's something that people don't talk about until they have to face it themselves. And it's shocking to realize that actually a lot of the way that we treat these diseases is basically a shotgun. And in our case, it was just a case of saying, hey, we're just going to give you a lot of chemo. We're going to give you a lot of drugs. And yeah, again, knowing that you've got this massive list of side effects that will affect you for the rest of your life is difficult. So yeah, Angela's Fund, it's a great fund. And basically, it's saving up money. So in the future, when people find themselves in the position that I found myself in late 2014 and through 2015, and still in a bit of the time now, to be honest, we're going to be able to have a scenario where people who are facing the same problems are given just a bit more hope, just something a bit more hopeful to look forward to. Maybe just knowing that they do know something about this cancer now, and it isn't just a case of firing shotguns into the dark and hoping that something works. Because frankly, I've been really lucky. We've been really lucky, myself and my partner. You know, we were told that we'd never be able to have kids, that she'd be in the menopause, and that, you know, her chances of survival were incredibly slim. As it turns out, she's still alive. The surgery was a complete success, and her ovary is not completely screwed. Like, there is still a possibility that we might be able to have kids. So it's amazing, really. And we've been so lucky. And I've been personally lucky, you know. I didn't foresee any of this sort of stuff would happen, obviously, when I started doing all the Patreon things. But the support I've had from people who followed my work for a long time has been truly instrumental in keeping me going and keeping me with some form of structure and hope in my life over the past 3 years. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. And now I'm just at a point where I'd really like to try and give something back and ensure that people in the future who find themselves in my position and find themselves in the position of my partner, just to give them something a little more concrete to hold on to, and not just told that unfortunately, because you've got a rare, unpopular cancer, we can't really help you and we don't really know anything about it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you this weekend for some Pants Man, which is just going to be us playing Dark Souls and having a laugh. But I just wanted to get ahead here and tell you what it's all about and give you an idea of why it's important, to me. If you think it might be important to you and think it might be something that you'd like to get behind and make a really big difference to a small number of people, then do consider giving some money to my Just Giving page. And I'll put a link in the description to this on YouTube. And obviously, if you're watching this on Cool Ghosts, then I will put a link in the description on there. Thank you very much for your time. And hopefully see you on Saturday.